A warm good evening once again, and thank you all to have been here in time to another spectacular and insightful day 2 of Confluence. Today's speaker does not need much introduction, but I'm still going to do the needful. We have with us Mr. Laxminarayanan, MD and CEO, Tata Communications with us. So Mr. Lakshmi is a global techno-commercial leader across industry and regions, known for developing scalable business across UK, Europe, India, and Japan. After having taken over Tata Communications in 2019 October, in a short span of time, he's managed to re-engineer the company and steer it towards transformation and turnaround financial performance. Upon taking over Tata Communication, Lakshmi embarked upon the reimagined strategy of focusing on platform play, customer segmentation, financial fitness, commitment to sustainability, innovation, and AI. Under his leadership, the company continues to give us digital enabler. This successful turnaround strategy has been recognized over various platforms such as the Forbes Leadership Award, ET Telecom Award. Under Lakshmi's leadership, the company continues to grow and give us a digital fabric where customers can have connected and secure digital experiences. Before joining Tata Communications, Lakshmi was President and CEO Tata Consultancy Services Japan, accelerating the company's market opportunity and brand in the region. Other leadership positions he has held in TCS are 4 global head positions of 4 business units, that's telecommunication, media and information services, high-tech and utilities, and also head of UK and Europe. A Tata Group veteran of 35 years. He is an engineering graduate from BITS Pilani, an alumnus of London Business School Senior Executive Program. He's also a long-standing member of Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer. He serves as Board of Director on Tata Teleservices and Nelco as non-executive chairman. A widely acclaimed business leader, an avid golfer, a hobbyist painter, Lakshmi is known for everything transformation and technology, with trust and purpose being the central focal point. Lakshmi will be presenting a roadmap of Tata Communications ahead, followed by question answers from all of you. So welcome on stage.
Thank you. I think I need to shorten that. It was embarrassing listening to that myself. So I'm going to essentially talk about a macro from a technology standpoint. I think I genuinely believe that confluence of technologies or different technologies coming together is certainly putting the businesses at a crossroads, not just from technology standpoint, but in many instances, their business models are being relooked at. So I'll talk a little bit about the play of technology and what we think we should do, and very briefly about Tatacom and our role and how we are envisioning solving these problems. So those are the topics in terms of, I'll talk about what is hyper-connected ecosystem, the emerging challenges, and the role of technology companies. So I think I need to keep looking back, but so essentially this chart, I don't want to go through that. So we all know the role that technology has played over the decades. We've had the internet, and after that the mobile first world, how in the early 2000s a lot of business model changes happened as a result of both mobile as well as internet coming together, and also the cloud beginning to play a major part. Now, what we are seeing in the decades ahead is what I call as the hyper-connected ecosystem. And I'll try and illustrate that through a few examples of how the impact that these confluence of technologies are happening. So before I go into the specific examples, what do we mean by hyper-connected ecosystem? We all know that people used to talk about extended enterprises. There were examples of how an insurance company would have dealings with repair shops around the country. How do you tie up with them? So because they're all extended ecosystems to have. Or if you look at airline companies have always had extended ecosystems in terms of people wanting to go on holidays, and how do you tie up with those, and so on and so forth. And similarly with consumers, there have been booking through the portals, agencies, loyalty programs, and so on. So if you look at from the customer side and downstream from the enterprises have always tried to connect with all of them. So connectedness beyond the enterprise has always been there. Now, what is new about hyper-connectedness is that the characteristics of the hyper-connectedness, and I think an example would bring it to life very sharply. We believe the businesses are going to a world where everything is going to be real time, and we are already seeing that. Other characteristics of the hyper-connected world is going to be, you are going to be always on, always connected. The third characteristic we believe will be, you need to be very seamlessly collaborative, not within the enterprise alone. Obviously, people within the enterprise need to be seamlessly collaborative, but across the extended enterprise, into the ecosystem, it will be seamlessly collaborative. That is one. Second is, it's just not the people between this extended ecosystem that will be seamlessly collaborative, but it will also be people and things will be seamlessly collaborative, and it will be eventually between things in the extended enterprise will be collaborative, right? So it gets complicated. So you're not talking about just people and things, it's about between things, within the things in the enterprise, and also in the extended enterprise, there will be things, instrumentation, things that will be talking to each other, and that need to be seamlessly collaborative. In the world of AI, already people talking about the impact that it can make. I think it's going to be a while before it makes serious impact on the businesses. But there are already talks about in Gen AI with agentic systems. So agentic systems are nothing but a series of workflow, and if each of the workflow requires certain complex tasks to be done, each of those tasks are going to be done by agents or bots, and these agents, when strung together, will become a new workflow. And these agents are not going to be just within enterprise. Imagine these agents can collaborate across extended enterprises as well. So until last year I was saying it's between people and people and people and things and things and things. A few years from now, you will also see agents talking to each other, and they have to seamlessly collaborate. And finally, the whole ecosystem is going to be always learning, and it's going to become more and more intelligent. That's my hypothesis of the future, and that's the world where enterprises are moving to. And I think some of the examples are very starkly coming. If you look at the automotive industry, whether you call ACES or CASA, whichever terminology you use, but essentially the drivers of the future are going to be, the connectedness between vehicle to infrastructure. It's about shared mobility, which again, between infrastructure and the vehicles, and between people and vehicles, and between people and people. That connectedness is important. Alternative drivetrains, whether it's electric or otherwise, that is going to drive a lot more of ecosystem play between communicating between charging stations and the vehicles, charging stations to the fleet manager, car to the fleet manager saying, I'm running out of electricity and can you find me the nearest charging station, and so on. And finally, the advanced assisted driving or autonomous driving, and that's going to require tremendous amount of. So if you look at this world, if you look at automotive players, they're already talking about, in their future world, they are saying that close to 30% of the revenues are going to come from services, not just selling automotives, right? And many companies worldwide, and we see them, people have declared an absolute number. or people have said that as a percentage of revenue, they need to be at 30%. And the reason behind all of these is, they are very clearly aware that the business models are going to change. Nobody is sure how these business models are going to precisely change. There is no absolute winner there yet, but they are all very acutely aware that the business model is going to change. And this brings out, and you see the 4 characteristics that I talked about, being real time, being always on. I mean, if a car is going to be, there's always a always on and always connected promise that is required. Because if you see the vehicle is going to be, some people say it's a moving computer on wheels. We like to think that it's an edge in our network node, and we need to push out updates to the car. So car is going to require constant updating. It's going to require on-demand features to be available. So I'm going on a long-distance drive. I need this feature to be updated for the long-distance drive. The OEM can monetize that feature. And some people would say, I need this for this drive for the next 2 days, or next 1 day, or the next 5 hours. That's what they would need. And those would be possible. So people are looking at, and for all this to happen, the 4 characteristics of being real time, being always on, always connected, being seamlessly collaborative across many things that I talked about, and continuing to become intelligent is all going to play out, right? So that is what, already it's moving out. People are aware of that. I think the same thing we can talk about in the financial services as well. If you look at the DIVE paradigm of digital integration, digital identity, instantaneous payments and transactions, verification and security, efficiency and improvement, all of that is going to happen, not just because of how the digital identity of Aadhaar and all of this is coming together, but across the ecosystem. Again, there are examples internationally where there are companies that are able to now precisely offer loan to an SME based on their working capital. They know that on this day of the month, your working capital is going to suffer. On that precise, just few days before, they can offer a loan only for a limited period, right? So that kind of precision with SMEs are going to be there, and it's going to be just in time. So these models are beginning to play out in some parts, and we can take this example across all industries. So to some extent, if you visualize that new world that we are talking about, the world where we characterize that by hyper-connectedness, and that world in the business is going to throw up huge amount of opportunities, and the business models for sure is going to be changing. Just like in the last decade when the mobile and the internet and all of these came together, we saw new business models emerging, and as a result, new winners emerging in the market. We believe in the new marketplace, which is characterized by those, there are going to be substantial amount of changes that are happening. Now, what is the current problem that we are faced with? In my view, there are 3 big problems. We'll talk about one. One is about currently in the world of business on IT, the data and applications are residing in islands. People might have moved to the cloud, but still an island. So they would have had some applications running on one cloud for certain things, CRM running on another cloud for some other things. So things are still, data and applications are still an island. And that poses a lot of complexity for the customers. So some of the challenges are, of course, the costs are ballooning. So the cloud is not, people think cloud is a cloud is a cloud. Cloud comes with enormous amount of complexity, and people are beginning to realize that simply connecting between the 2 clouds comes with a lot of complexity. There is a cost increase as people use platforms, and you can put the data in. It's Hotel California. You can check in, but you can never check out. So getting out of cloud is more problematic because you get locked into that. You can't, you can take data out, but you're paying a huge price. So the costs are ballooning. There are lots of inefficiencies that are creeping in. I think it will inhibit innovation as opposed to promoting innovation as a result of some of these things. And security is a huge concern. As you have more and more of these data islands and application islands, you are going to have complexities increasing a huge. The second challenge that we think is in the customer experience area. I mean, again, the previous one was we had done some joint studies with economists, and this one with the Harvard Business Review. And the study shows reveals very startling facts. So I think this is something that we knew intuitively, but the survey just validates that 94% of the respondents do believe that the customer delivering the appropriate customer experience is the key, and only a few people are able to do it now. And then again, if you go to the root cause of why that is happening, the root cause again is fragmentation. So there are channel fragmentations happening. All of us, we are bombarded of SMS messages, various marketing calls. You get now WhatsApp. So too many channels of communication. Data privacy is a concern. How do you bring them all together is a concern. And the experience journey is all broken. And within the organization, there are many, many silos again and islands of data which don't bring things, which things don't work together. The third big area is when I talked about seamless collaboration of things and people and things and things, IoT is a big challenge. There was a, more derisively, we call it not Internet of Things, but Internet of Vulnerable Things. So people haven't paid enough attention to IoT security, and it's huge vulnerability there. And it produces a lot more complexity. So, if you imagine the current data that people hold in applications, when things start to communicate, the data is going to just explode. And when data explodes, correspondingly, you will see the problem that today when we say the ballooning cost and the complexity, it's going to explode that much more again. As the problems are going to be only increasing with the explosion of this happening. So these are the three main challenges that the enterprises have to address and solve if they have to be successful in the hyper-connected world. And for that, again, our hypothesis is, if these are the big challenges, people talk about and very often ask me about the technology debt. So I say there is no technology debt. And if you look at every new possible technologies are being used in enterprises today. So the problem is not about technology, it's about architectural debt. We need to really simplify the architecture of the enterprises and simplify how they do things. It's not a tech debt, it's an architecture debt is what our view is. So what do we need to do? The number one goal is, how do you uncomplicate and how do you help customers to innovate? And that is where, we are working to find ways to reduce complexity, make it all easily consumable, the infra consumable through APIs, and deliver an end-to-end performance at the end of the day. So our vision as a company is to be the digital fabric for enterprise. And the digital fabric essentially means that when you open an Uber app or an Ola app, you see the map underneath that. It's quiet, it's very silent. But without that app, you cannot visualize how the application is going to work. You want to pinpoint, you want to say where it is, you want to track. Nobody gives attention to that underlying technology of the map, but it's quiet, it's very efficient, and without that, I can't imagine. The digital fabric, in my view, has to be that. It has to be the fabric that enables everything else that the enterprises have to deliver, and it has to be extremely efficient. And our digital fabric, we have broken that down into these four elements, the network fabric, and we are investing quite a lot on network fabric. Network fabric is not just about, connecting enterprises, connecting branch offices. It is getting a lot more complex in terms of our international customers. Resilience is number one concern for them, with cuts in Red Sea happening and other places. And how do we deliver resilient data center connectivity? So a lot of these corporations have data centers across the world. How do you connect to them, and how do you connect them in more secure, resilient fashion? And interestingly, when people talk about resiliency, it equals to redundancy. So I want resiliency, add two more connectivity. So if one fails, I'm sure that the other can. So we have to solve the problem by increasing the redundancy to deliver resiliency. But how can we deliver resiliency at the most efficient manner, right? So that's one kind of a challenge in the network world. This other challenge is, as people move to the cloud, the entire cloud networking itself is becoming a discipline and a category by itself. There are a lot of complexities in the cloud networking, As people go to the cloud, many people don't realize that when you connect to the cloud, you're actually creating in each of the clouds, you're creating a small network zone there. You're putting a firewall, you're putting something there. In every cloud you go to, you have to do that. So we, through our ISO Multi-Cloud Connect, are trying to simplify things to say, you don't have to do all of that in your cloud. We will bring it all, and we will manage that on our fabric. Or, for example, if many of you would have experienced, people would migrate applications to the new cloud and realize that the user performance is deteriorated because the things that takes you to that cloud is not efficient anymore because you've added a few more applications there. With our Multi-Cloud Connect, our vision is to say that we can deliver that on demand. With a few clicks, we will make sure that the traffic is taken in the most efficient manner, not just in one region in India, but across the world. So we are investing in the network fabric itself, and there are many, many more changes that are happening. It's just not to the cloud, how people connect between the clouds. So there are some new companies coming, which are focused purely on the software overlay on how you do this, and that is where we are also investing. So our transformation on the network fabric is complete top to down. Our core network that runs across the world on submarine, we are making them more intelligent, more composable. We are also investing in how cloud networking needs to happen, and we are investing in on the overlays on top of it. If you look at the cloud and security fabric, this again, we have made huge investment. We take pride in saying that we have a private cloud, which is purpose-built, multi-tenanted cloud. On one extreme is a public cloud, and the other extreme is people want to be on-prem, and so that better security, better control, better manageability, better auditability, because on the public cloud, you will not get all the auditability that RBI demands. So these are the two extremes, and we are somewhere in between to say that we have an offering that delivers you the best of the both worlds. Also, we are working on how we take the cloud to the edge, because not everything will go to the central cloud. There are use cases in factories today where you need very low latency. So imagine if you want to do a vision analytics on your manufacturing shop floor and say, based on what you detect, you need to be able to respond fast and fix things fast. If you want to do that, latency is going to be very, very important. And if you want that latency, then you have to have an edge compute in the factory rather than taking a video traffic all the way to the cloud and bringing it back. So we think the cloud and the edge is a continuum, and we have invested and we've launched a product called Cloud Light. Similarly, on the security side, how do you deliver security from the cloud, security to the cloud, security in the cloud? All of that is what we are doing. And finally, the interaction fabric is, as I said, the whole channel fragmentation. Our aim with our interaction fabric is how do you converge all these interactions together? How do you make sure that you can make it more contextual and intelligent? How do you make a workflow saying, can I send an SMS first and say, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so bank, I'm about to make a call in a half an hour time, are you willing to take the call? Or even send an SMS to say, there is a SMS call, there's an alert, there's a security call I'm going to make. So today we receive calls from the banks and we don't even know whether we should take it or not because it's an unidentified number. So we can create a workflow where I can combine an SMS message with a call afterwards. Then I know it's somebody genuine who's going to call, for example. This is just one example. So by combining some of these and creating workflows between the various channels, we can create a lot more value. And those are the kind of things that we are investing in. And finally, the IoT fabric. There's a lot of work going on there. Some of the vehicles in India are coming out with Tatacom eSIMs. If you travel Emirates or Singapore Airlines, all the crew members carry their iPad. All of them are connected through the Tatacom Move platform. And globally as well, JLR for all their vehicles are using our Move platform, for example. So those are some examples of IoT Fabric. IoT Fabric is also on the factories for connected workers, worker safety. We've implemented a lot of smart city solutions for smart lighting, not just in India, but also in Medina for this. So all of these are examples of the fabric at play. Our eventual vision is how do you make the fabric entirely visible across the pane? How do you manage all of them? How do you make it more intelligent, right? So the fabric can also become intelligent. For example, I talked about the car, the SOTA push that the car has to give. overall, because of the SOTA failures, the OEMs are suffering close to about $4 billion of wasted number, because the SOTA push is not always successful. So we are giving them intelligence to say what is the right time to push and what is the right region to push. If they are in that region and that time, you push so improve the success rate of SOTA. So some of the intelligence like that, and that's one example, but there are more intelligence that we can bring on top of the fabric, and all of them should be consumable through API. So that's our vision we are working towards. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'll take some questions. I don't know how the format of the questions are. But
hello. Yeah. For a great presentation. Can you talk a bit about the data center business? We're seeing that emerging as a big opportunity.
Yeah.
And how does Tata Communications feel about that?
Yeah, no, we are in the data center business through our joint venture partner, STT. So we have a 26% stake in that company. So I think the data center, as we all see, is in India particularly, it's an exploding business. And with the advent of AI, where there is going to be a lot more data, and there is going to be a lot more of data privacy concerns, and therefore the need for sovereign clouds emerging, I think the data center business is slated for explosive growth, I think, in the next, at least for the next 5 to 7 years. Outside the world, even before the AI came, in many, many regions, the data center business had sort of plateaued to some extent, right? And I think it's getting a revival, not just in India, but other parts of the world. But certainly in India, even before the AI, we expected the data center business to keep growing. It was growing very well. It is going to continue to grow. And I think it's, at least for the next 7 to 8 years, for the next decade, the data center business are going to do quite well.
Is that something you would put more investment in going forward?
No, as part of our stake in that company, we have that investment, and we continue to keep our stake. So indirectly, we are investing. Good. If there are no questions, I'll step down. Thank you so much. Yeah.